Welcome to the Running Refresh Podcast, where hot takes and debates on the sport of running are more than welcome in the studio and for the good of the sport.
Running Refresh is hosted by Logan Lummel and his refreshing guests.
Good, brother. Good.
All right.
Let's do it.
Welcome to the Running Refresh Podcast. I have Johnny Dickson with me. This is my first online interview through Zencastr. He hooked me up, right? Got me right. Also known as No Lab Coat Required. My past teammate at WIU. We ran the 4x4 together a handful of times my freshman year. But Johnny, why don't you introduce yourself? Where are you from? You know, what's your degree in? How'd you get into running? How is running involved in your life now?
Yes. So, let me start from the back end. Running is no longer in my life, unfortunately. Right. So you guys are runners listening, you guys are gonna think I'm some kind of scrub, first off. Second off, man, I was just talking to Logan before we got things rolling here, and I wanted to give him his kudos, his flowers, because I thought that this podcast was really good because I'm an avid podcast listener. So hearing Logan on his podcast, you can easily tell that he knows what makes a good podcast. Because of that, I was like stoked to be a part of it, brother. So I'm just happy to be here. Yes, Johnny Dickson's the name. Quick intro. Yeah, we got to get the delay going. But Johnny Dickson's the name. No Lab Coat Required is the little side passion I got going on. So yeah,
the side passion. What's the main passion then right now?
Oh, well, if you put it that way, I guess it is the main passion. You're right. It's the main passion.
And then you're also a fitness instructor, right?
Yes. So currently a fitness instructor over at Fit Code out in Beverly, Chicago. Those people are family right now. I started there as an intern. I remember having a brutal internship search. I don't know what you all's majors are listening to this, but over in the exercise science at Western, like the internship, they just throw you in there. Like they don't tell you how to like search or anything, which is good because you learn a lot, but it was tough for me. But when I found Fit Code, I got in there. I feel like a glove, man. It's been going ever since.
That's awesome. I'm glad you found your place. All right. So I'm your host, Logan Lummel. I'm a future teacher and coach, current runner, ex-soccer player, just hoping to provide some unique perspectives on running and learn more about my guests in the podcast, or in the process, not in the podcast, also in the podcast. But today we have a well-educated perspective from Johnny Dickson. I post running-related content every Sunday at noon. You can follow on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, or YouTube at Running Refresh. Please leave a review, like, follow, and subscribe. So First, we're going to have an interview portion. Then we have a new segment called Fact or Fiction, made just for Johnny. And we'll get into his running story, as well as, what role it's played in his life. Get in, some of his fitness instructing and his hobby as an influencer. And then we'll bring it home with Rapid Refresh at the end, our recurring segment. So, first, just to start with, what is No Lab Coat Required? Why'd you start it?
Man, absolutely. So I knew this question was coming, and I was trying to find a good source of where to begin the story. But essentially, it all started when I was going to my first college at Olivet Nazarene. Okay, buckle up. I'm just going to start from the very beginning. So I was a freshman. I chose to go to Olivet Nazarene, which is a private Christian college. And I chose there for a couple of reasons. One, I had a couple races there when I was in high school, and they have a really, really nice indoor facility. And as a high schooler, you can't really like track as a part of your identity. You don't really think past that. I was like, oh, it's a nice place. They got my major in communications at the time, and they have a nice track. So I'm going to go there. I ended up having the two meets that I had there in high school. They ended up being two really good showings. Like they were very memorable races for me. So I just felt really good about the school. I remember having to be a walk-on, and I wanted to meet with the head coach, Mr. McDowell. I don't know where he is now, but phenomenal coach. I remember our first meeting. me requesting to be a walk-on, I remember walking up the steps to his office and sitting down and talking to him, super geeked up to join the team, like just so excited. I'm about to
Yeah.
join a collegiate team, So I ended up talking to him and he's going, Johnny, this is college. This is not high school. This is a level you've never embarked on. Just want to make sure that you're ready for this. And he was like, putting a little fear in me a little bit. It ended up deflating me.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember leaving his office, walking back down the steps, talking to my mom, like, I think he's trying to scare me. And ever since then, I kind of had this push to want to prove him wrong. Like, no, I actually can do this. Like, I don't know if I took it the wrong way at the time, but I wanted to prove that I can do this running thing, on a level other than just the high school level. And I promise this is going to lead into how No Lab Court Required was born. So,
yeah,
I ended up having my freshman year there as an 800 runner mid distance. I just didn't have a breakout season though. It all started with my training. I really wasn't able to get any solid footing in my training. I had reoccurring injuries. I wasn't taking care of my body. I wasn't taking care of sleep. My sleep was horrendous. I'd stay up past whatever time talking to my two roommates at the time, arguing over what goes first on a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Like, I just did not care about my sleep at all. I didn't care about what I ate.
Yeah.
Nothing really mattered in terms of my health. And it showed in my training. I'd get these injuries, and that actually carried over in my races to the point where I never really had a breakout season. I couldn't even PR my whole freshman year. So I ended up having a lot of doubts in my freshman year. And I had this moment that stuck out to me that plays into why Olivet ended up being a school I had to transfer away from. So I was sitting in the cafeteria, and one of my teammates at the time, he came over when I was sitting alone in the dining hall. He came over and I had a do-rag on. He goes, "What's up, Johnny?" I go, "What's up?" He goes, "What's that on your head?" I say, It's a do-rag." And he goes, "What do you need that for?" I don't know how to proceed with that.
Yeah.
When someone asks, "What do you need that?" Like, if you don't know what it is in the first place, like, how can I work with that? So the reason that kind of stuck out as a memory for me is I didn't notice at the time, but the main reason I wanted to leave Olivet is because I didn't fit in. I was the only black kid on the distance team. And there was like this mixed guy, but he was like, he didn't really, like, if I go to shake your hand, you give me like a business shake. Like, I'm not trying to hire you, brother. Like dap me up. We're sports teammates. It was kind of like one of those situations where it's like, you're not really in tune all the way. That's okay though. People are people.
And you didn't.
But I didn't really fit in, and I didn't know this at the time. I remember talking to my mom in the cafeteria, like, "Ma, I got to get out of here." Like, and my mom is very chill. She's super supportive. She just kind of guides me. She never really tells me what to do. She gives me suggestions and leaves it up to me. So I promise I'm leading to how No Lab Court Required was born. So I'm talking to her on her phone and I go, "Ma, I don't know what it is, but I got to get out of here." And she's trying to pick my brain like, "Johnny, do you know what it is?" And at the time, I could not come up with a solid reason. I don't know why I wanted to leave the school so bad. Retrospect allows me to understand that the reason I wanted to leave was because I never flourished in my training and my track season, and I didn't fit in on specifically the distance team. They were like black sprinters, of course. What team doesn't have like black sprinters? But those were the two reasons that I ended up wanting to leave Olivet. I always wanted to be a runner. I just couldn't run at that school. And at the time, I didn't know why, but it was because I was an outlier. I ended up coming to Western. And I told myself, I'm going to focus on
Western.
myself. I'm going to build. Yes.
Yep.
You feel me? The leathernecks. We got some school of pride going, and it's growing. Western is smaller, so it's nice to be in a compact community, and that was another reason I even chose Western. So I ended up transferring to Western for a couple of reasons. They had my major, exercise science. They had a track team that I could walk on, and they were not super expensive, public school. So I was able to get in where I fit in. D1 as well. So it was an upgrade from Olivet, which is NAIA. And long story short, I was able to walk on. I was a good fit for the team and all that good stuff. And like I said, I was kind of focusing on myself in this season, and I wanted to become more self-aware. In this season of becoming more self-aware, I got out of myself a little bit, in terms of there was a new version of Johnny that was developing that was the spark of the birth of No Life Core Required that I didn't even realize until I started to kind of feed that new beginning in me. So that sounds super mystical, but really all it was I told myself I'm not going to talk to any girls right now. I'm not even going to like do any other clubs other than track. Like I'm not going out. I'm not socializing. And it all started. I remember seeing this. Okay, we're getting real here on the our Running Refresh podcast. I remember seeing this fine girl. You don't, bruh. So I seen her, and it was one of those times where you could talk to her, but like it's not the best opportunity. It's like people around her probably wouldn't go that smooth. And I wanted to shoot my shot, but I said, "No, I'm gonna wait till my next opportunity." My next opportunity came. I was going into a dorm. She was going out of a dorm. We were outside. We were about to pass each other on the sidewalk. Nobody's around. It's a perfect opportunity to shoot my shot. And I walked straight past her. And she walked straight past me. Like we barely made eye contact. I've never been that locked in my life. That was totally unlike me. This is the level of like, I'm going to focus on myself that I was. So I remember getting to a point where I was in the cafeteria and this random question came up to my head. I was in a dining hall in Western. What is it called? The freshman dorm? Is it Chapman?
Thompson.
I was in Thompson in the dining hall, brother. I always had the eggs and the sausage. That was my go-to. For some reason, all my college memories are like in dining halls. So I'm in there, and this question, I don't know why it popped up in my head at the time, but I ended up wondering, what can I do to prevent myself from getting a dad bod? Because my father, he had always had a gut as far as I can remember, my biological father. And I kind of understood that, okay, I'm this slim kid, but I don't really understand what it'll take for me to age gracefully to where I don't have to get into that. This was the first seed that planted No Lab Coat Required. This was my essential question that birthed it all for me. Because for the next 5 months, I ended up growing more self-aware, reading, researching, listening to podcasts, doing everything that I can to be a learner and a student to the body. And I learned so much in that span of time to the point where I wanted to literally drop out of college just to be a health coach. Like I was so certain on loving the body and teaching the things of the body that I didn't even, I figured finishing my degree would just be worthless. I even called my mom, like, Mom, I'm about to drop out. And I remember that call because she was like I said, my mom will guide me. She wouldn't tell me what to do, but she'll guide me. She ended up telling me, Johnny, just finish out your 2 years. I said, okay, I'll finish out my 2 years. And then I told myself, okay, I'll still be a health coach afterwards, though. That's still the plan. So I ended up wanting to be a health coach, but then the pandemic hit. And we all know what kind of happened in the pandemic. We all had that sit-down moment. And then that sit-down moment, when we were all locked in, I remember going into the shower. I brought no music in there with me. That's where all the ideas come from. And No Lab Coat Required was born. I told myself this is going to be a IGTV series. Let you know where IGTV ended up. That's not even a thing anymore. Yeah. So now I just make YouTube. It's
like videos. Reels now, practically.
Yeah, Reels, short video. But yes, all of that is the origin story. I want to give you the whole spiel.
Okay, that's awesome. And then for those that haven't watched, how are you different from the competition? Because I know how you are, but how would you describe yourself as different from the competition?
So the way that I'm different, so I like to describe myself as a lifelong learner, which is kind of an attitude that I developed from a guy named Sean Stevenson, who is actually my main inspiration. He's a podcaster like yourself. He's I don't know if he's New York Times bestselling, but I believe he is. He wrote 2 books, a Sleep Smarter and an Eat Smarter book, 2 books that changed my life. So I take inspiration from him first off in my idea of becoming a lifelong learner. But what makes me different is the idea that I'm learning all of this research, but I will tell you in a quick, fast hurry, I don't know. Yeah. Like I am the king of telling you that I don't know. If I don't know, I don't know. So I think me being humble in the way I present what I know is what allows others to be invited in a welcoming community to where they can grow.
And you're also being humble. You're also being humble right now, just by because you also say it in a pretty entertaining and funny way, I'd say. So like you like to use,
Yeah.
memes or some
Yeah.
punchlines or some skits and stuff like that. And,
Yeah. You're going to
just
get some
to
memes out of me.
make
I
it,
was compared to, go ahead.
and just, to make it easier to consume for people that, don't want to maybe spend that time researching,
Yes,
going through
sir.
data, but you do it in a way that everybody can understand. If that makes sense.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that's why I include those memes and stuff. It's because it's like I want to be light, and I think I'm glad you pointed that out because I was compared to Hank Green, who is the original like YouTube teacher. You guys may not know the face to match with the name, but if I pulled up Hank Green right now, like literally, who's when you're listening, like pause this, and go look up Hank Green, you will know his face. He does like the I can't even. He does
Like Crash
subjects.
Course.
Crash Course, yes, your Crash Course guy. Yes, he talks about
Yeah.
history, the body, all that stuff. I was compared to him, but he's not like including memes and stuff in his stuff. Another channel I'm similar to is ASAP Science, who are two guys who've been doing this for a while, but they're not really including like memes and stuff, and their topics don't necessarily revolve around health and wellness. I am specifically more so teaching you about the body and how it could impact your health and wellness. So a few things that kind of make me stand out, man. Check me out.
For sure. And then we have a lot of runners listening. So what would be some of your recommendations to runners in terms of nutrition and
Oh
wellness?
man, so this is an incredible question. So first, let's talk
It's a tough
about what
one.
nutrition is. Yeah, it's a tough one because I can take this in so many directions, but I want to keep it very simple for us because when I was a runner, I wasn't given these tools, So I think the most important thing when it comes to running is the actual, because we're not talking about necessarily health and wellness. We're talking about performance. Performance
Yeah,
nutrition is a
performance.
lot different than how 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 well do I just want to optimize my body? In general, of course, you want to keep things unprocessed and keep things healthy for the most part. Those are just two gimme rules. But when it comes to nutrition, just to give it a practical thing, I struggled with cramps very, very, very bad, like in my hamstrings and my posterior chain, like my whole backside. So I get them in my hamstring, I get them in my the bottom of my feet, even in my calves. I would recommend properly hydrating. So, hydration, we like to think that it's just water, and it is. That's 50% of it. But water is a solvent, and a solvent will always have minerals in it. Minerals is what truly hydrates us. Minerals are what allows the body to communicate, or allows the muscles to communicate efficiently. So, when they're firing off, this is what allows us to not have that cramp when we kick our heel back. So,
Yeah.
minerals and water, this healthy mix is what can kind of make our training more efficient. And I reckon there's a cup, like, you don't want to go Gatorade, because Gatorade, you can go Gatorade if you're desperate for the minerals and the electrolytes, but minerals are essentially electrolytes. That's what electrolytes are. It's just minerals. So there's a
Yeah.
brand I go to.
Okay.
They're called LMNT. I highly recommend you guys check them out. LMNT. Get some of their salt, and you guys will thank me later. I'm not sponsored or anything like that. I just
Yeah.
recognize how much of a difference it made for me once I started getting element into my nutrition. That's number one. I had a
Yeah.
second thing that kind of came up in my head, and that's basically carb loading. I was always guilty of running on an empty stomach, and that really hindered my performance to the point where I would always hit a wall. You want to get a window of time before even your training, a window of time where you get some fruit in you or something that's more carb based, that's obviously not heavy. We all know our bodies, but it's going to take a little bit of fuel in the tank for you to be able to perform well. That's in your training, and good training, as we know, will carry over into your races as well. So just two practical tips if I could throw it out.
That's awesome. And then in terms of recovery, what would be some tips that you have, whether it's like sleep, or I don't know if you have any opinions about stretching or anything like that.
Yes. So I have a natural bias to sleep. I believe that is one of the foundations of health. So when it comes to recovery, and man, I tell you guys, I shot myself in the foot a lot. So first off, I'm not like a top gun. I was an 800 runner. I got to 157, which is respectable. That's my PR. But man, what
It is
Logan is
respectable.
running, what you guys are doing, it's respectable. What you guys are doing at WIU, I wish, man, you guys are killing it. I never gave myself the chance. I never really focused on doing the little things like getting better sleep. You'd be surprised how much a good night's rest after a hard day's work could actually boost your performance overall. So it's capitalizing on running and then going to sleep. Like capitalizing on that recovery is what's going to allow you to become faster, because you can run the wheels off, you know what I mean, and then stay up all night, and then you just kind of undid all your work. So get yourself some rest. You know, I
Yeah,
have a
work
natural bias
hard,
to that.
recover harder.
You said it, brother. You said it.
Yeah. And then also just so more about your, channel. So how do you research your videos? And what advice do you have to fellow influencers like myself?
I am so excited that you just asked me that. I am sometimes I don't realize how much of a nerd and how much I want to talk until someone asks me to talk. Like I am geeked up right now. So first off, researching, I just got into I'm in a group chat with some of my childhood friends, and they know I'm a fitness instructor, all that good stuff. One of my friends, shout out Nick, he's about to start an exercise routine. And we were kind of going back and forth in a group chat. Out of nowhere, he was like I invited him out. That's what happened. I invited him out to this thing I was gonna go to, and it was a night thing. And he says, "I don't know if I can make it. I'm gonna start working out at night. I heard that that's better to do so at nighttime." So I don't push back or anything. I say, "Oh, so where'd you hear that from? And why didn't you ask me?" You know what I mean? Because it's I have a degree in exercise science. You
Yeah.
would think that, I'm in your corner, you think I'm an easy route to kind of get your question answered. But nevertheless, he said he just put it up to a Google search. He just searched it, and that was his way of researching it. And we ended up going kind of like back and forth, and we started talking about a whole bunch of stuff. But one of the main tips I gave him is when you're going for your research, a simple type in a capital NIH after whatever your question is, you're going to get more legitimate answers. So NIH is the National Institution of Health, and they have this large library of medicinal research, supplemental therapy research, all kinds of areas that contribute to basically like a vast majority of what we know in terms of like in America. So like basically they have most of the research America produces, just to put it simply, NIH. So
Yeah.
what I was telling him is when you're searching something, when you put the question in, Google is going to give you something based on what the language you used. So if you ask, is working out at night better? Then it's going to tell you, yes, out at night is better. And here's why. If you Google, is working out in the morning better? It's going to tell you, yes, working out in the morning is better. And here's why. The truth is they both have pros and cons. If you type in one of those questions and follow it with NIH, then you're getting information directly from the people in the lab coats. And this is what I was explaining to him.
Well, that's
And
nice to
my
know.
job is basically, yeah, that's what I do with my research. I type the question in, I type in NIH, and then I obviously go very, very deep. But on a surface level, just follow it up with NIH, and yeah, you'd be all good.
All right. Well, now I know that, and I can do that when I have some question about, running, instead of just hopping on Let's Run or some forum and everybody's just talking nonsense. But
Now, time out. I do have to cut you off because there is still power in anecdotal research, especially when we're talking about runners,
Okay.
because runners are very unique people. And I can trail off into a rabbit hole here, but we are very unique people, runners. So getting anecdotal evidence and trying it out before, saying, oh, well, you don't have any science to back that up. That's okay. Try it out, experiment. Anecdotal evidence is still legit. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean every individual is different at the same time. Yeah, that's a great point that you have. So now let's get into your running story. And I just like to start the story that I have about Johnny when I was a freshman. So I forget my spikes on the way to indoor conference, and I call up my mom and I'm like, "What do I do? I need to get some spikes." Like we look up like 2 miles from where we're doing our pre-meet. There's a store, and I didn't want Coach to know or anything like that. So I asked Johnny, I asked Olin, I'm like, do you want to come with me and run with me? And this is in the middle of winter, so it's like hailing sideways. It's slush everywhere. We're like, we took a route like practically on a highway to get there to get these spikes. I mean, the bottom line is Johnny went with. He was a true G. All right, so he's a good guy. The funny thing is, and I mean, Coach doesn't know this, our coach at the time. But I get back, I lace my spikes up. We're doing some strides, and then Coach looks at me and he goes, "Hey, Logan. Oh, those are some nice spikes. Those new?" I was like, "Yep." But I knew he would have been a little mad if he heard I forgot my spikes, but it was funny. Do you remember anything about that?
Brother, yes. So I totally forgot about that. You literally just walked me back through the memory.
Yeah.
That is such a fond memory. Man, I appreciate you bringing that up because it's stuff like that it makes me cherish my running career in the past. So man, it was hilarious though, y'all, because we realized like what Coach said and it kind of put the cherry on top. Like, oh, those are my spikes. And we're just cracking up. Yeah. Man, I forgot about that. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it was a funny inside joke, and like literally, it was just like the few of us that knew because I was just embarrassed, And I would be the guy to like clown someone, be like, "Oh, you forgot your uniform, you forgot your spikes," but this time it was me, so I just put myself on blast. But so you've already kind of given us, a run through a little bit about your experience in college. So what were your main takeaways from running in college? How do you feel, coming up with that decision to end up hanging up the spikes?
So, that's a great question. So, wait, hit me with the first part of the question again.
Yeah. So, what were your main takeaways from like college running?
Main takeaways. So, main takeaways is that you are expected to know everything you should know by then. And this could be because you're on the collegiate level. It's a bit more of a top thing instead of being on the I don't want to say bottom thing of high school running, but when you're running in high school, that coach should be instilling information into you. The problem is there's certain levels of seriousness when it comes to the high school high school running, and your coach might not just be educating you. So my point is there's a big gap of things that just need to be taught when it comes to running, i.e. breathing is a major thing. I was never taught how to breathe as a runner. And I think that actually kind of messed with some of my gains, And I don't think I ever asked either. So I think one of my main takeaways, if there's anybody that's kind of, jumping on the collegiate wagon and you're about to start running on the higher level, or just in general, if you never really ask the questions, like pick your coach's brain. And if you're curious, don't just try it out. Like weigh it up against some scrutinized science, like search it up. So I think that's another a big takeaway is you're not really taught these things, but you have to kind of seek it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, your coaches or even teammates, are there to help you, and like using them as a resource is a big deal. And like a lot of running, you can do it the hard way through trial and error, right? And that is the hard way because your body will take a pounding. Like if you increase mileage too quick, without really talking about it with your coach, or whatever it may be, changing in your running training or like how you're recovering.
Yes, yes. And just to go on a little side note here about breathing, so I was never taught how to breathe, but essentially you want to do um well, I'm actually I want to hold back on that because I know how to breathe when it comes to having a healthier body, but not necessarily for better performance. So I'm
Yep.
going to hold back on that. But I will say this: there's a man by the man of Emil Zatopek, and this guy was a runner, and he decided to do a unique type of training, and his training was running without breathing. This man would hold his breath and sprint like 100 meters or how far he could go until he felt like he had to breathe again. And that was how he trained. And he became significantly faster. And I guess the science under that is that he trained his body how to deal with CO2, therefore buffering lactic acid, the whole kind of
poor man's
chemical process that
altitude or
happens after.
something.
Exactly. There you go. So it's like altitude training. So Mills Adapec, if you guys are curious, let's Google that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he is quite the interesting case study, I've heard. Yeah, he had some I saw something like he had some like 100-lap workout that he'd do too. It was like 2200s, 2400s, 2200s or something like that.
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
is
he won
insane.
the 5K, 10K and marathon gold medals, won Olympics. It's like I think it's the only time it's been done. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I was just watching stuff on him the other day. All right, so that kind of concludes the interview portion of this podcast. So next we have a new segment called Fact or Fiction. As an educational influencer, I have created a new segment for Johnny to drop some knowledge bombs on us. I researched some of his YouTube videos about some myths that he's researched. So I'll just start with the first one. Slouching is bad for you. Fact or fiction? And you can also, obviously provide some why.
Yeah, slouching is bad for you. Fiction. So this is a major misconception, and you guys can deal. These are recent videos actually. You guys can. I made a couple on it. Slouching is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's a position. And not to go too deep here,
Yeah.
but your body automatically chooses positions, and it does this just like it blinks. You don't think about it, but you still blink. Your heart beats. You don't think about it. You breathe. You don't think about it. We have these internal automatic processes that we don't have to think about, but the body is in control of. Slouching isn't necessarily bad. It's that it's a position as well as being upright is a position. The problem seems to occur when we hold those positions for too long. So I'd have to say fiction.
All right. It is okay to say, I don't know.
It is okay, my people, my folks, my brothers, my sisters, say I don't know. Please. I can't. Oh my gosh. Don't get me started, brother. I have a sign above my head right now. It says defund know-it-alls.
Awesome. We breathe too much.
Yes, we breathe too much. Emil's out of peck, like I just said, especially as runners. Like start off with some more nose breathing. We breathe too much.
Okay. Social media itself makes us feel bad.
Oh man, that's phenomenal. Social media itself, I'd have to say fiction. Um, it's the perspective and the mindset we have around scrolling on social media that makes us feel bad. If you enter the gates of social media and you don't have the tools to have the mental awareness and the mental strategy of knowing how to perceive things on social media, then it's going to be bad for you. So I'm going to have to say itself is bad for you as fiction, but it can be.
Okay. Doctors are always up to the latest research.
Fiction. Doctors just be checking in, yo. Okay, so oh my gosh. So some doctors are up on it, but a lot of doctors, they're just like us. They have to go to work and they clock in, they clock out, and they don't necessarily have to stay up on the latest research. Some do, but a lot don't.
I would say the same thing, with teachers. Like, I'm going to be a teacher. Like, I mean, you can continue to learn as you go on in your career, or, we've all had the teachers that are, a little bit stuck in the past with their ways. They aren't always learning. As we saw with COVID, we saw the teachers that could, handle the new technology. We're keeping up to date with that and best practices. And the ones, it was maybe more difficult because they weren't always, learning. It is tough. Again, I understand it is tough. All right. Our metabolism is fixed.
Our metabolism, oh man, it's a tricky question. So fiction, only because metabolism is way more complex than we think. Metabolism is not just how fast you can burn fat. Metabolism is every single chemical process that's happening in your body. And from hour to hour, it's different. So fiction.
All right. Food is fuel.
Fact, baby. Fact. Food is fuel all the time. Yes, food is fuel. Your body is incredible. It's designed to run on good food. Give it some good food. Yes, absolutely.
All right. So my last one, sugar is bad for you.
Fiction. Sugar is not necessarily bad for you. The dose makes the poison, obviously, but I have a bias towards natural foods. So there may be the same, if we take an apple and we take a mini Snicker, they might have the same amount of sugar. However, this is nature's sugar and this is man's sugar. You know what I mean? Actually, fun fact. Shout out Isaiah Mormon. He was the first person I ever heard say an apple is nature's candy. So an apple is nature's candy. So definitely go toward more natural.
Episode 0.
Yeah. Shout out. That stuck with me.
That's awesome. All right. And is there any more knowledge bombs that you'd like to drop on myself or the audience right now? Anything else you can think of?
Oh man, brother. I felt like I ranted a lot in this, but I mean, this was a ton of fun. In terms of knowledge bombs, no, nothing crazy that I think I haven't said already. But
all right.
No, nothing that comes to my head.
Well, that's good. I'm asking all the right questions. So next, I have the rapid refresh segment, a segment where I ask my guests too many questions for them to answer in a timely manner. So just to start out hot, you are well versed in meme culture. What is your favorite meme at the moment?
Yes. Favorite meme. Charlotte Takes a Tumble. You guys know the meme. It's a classic, and I just used it. That's my favorite meme right now.
Favorite video you have ever made?
Favorite video I ever made? Why Are We Always Hungry? It's my favorite video. Or I found out why we're always hungry. You can put in no local required and put that phrase. It'll come up.
If you could live the life of any fictional character, who would it be and why?
Oh, that's a phenomenal question. Chowder.
Could be a movie, could be anime.
Yep, I love cartoons. Chowder. If you guys know Chowder, then you're it. You're that guy. You're that girl. He gets to eat whatever he wants. He lives a good life. He just eats and makes jokes. Chowder for sure.
Awesome. How do you spend your free time?
My free time, on my main passion. Most of my time is going toward research, reading. If not, then I'm probably watching cartoons. Right now, I'm rewatching Avatar: The Last Airbender for the 10,000th time. So that's where my free time will go. Or YouTube. I do watch a lot of YouTube as well.
Favorite food and why?
Favorite food? Oh, so my mom's greens and cornbread is definitely my favorite food. I'm so trash, yo. Like, you'd think it'd be something fun, but no, it's literally like vegetables is my favorite food. I just love the way my mom prepared it since I was a kid, and it's a phenomenal dish.
Home cooking is where it's at. I don't know.
100%.
If you were a fruit, what fruit would you be and why? If you were a fruit, what fruit would you be?
Gosh. Probably a pineapple. Because that's what SpongeBob lives in, and plus, they're the most unique. I like unique.
Well done. What is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
it ain't that deep. Shout out my mentor, KB. I was just talking to him, just going on and on and on about my life. And he was like, it ain't that deep. And it literally changed me right there in the moment. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're stressing out, it ain't that deep.
Is cereal a soup?
No, cereal isn't soup, man. I'm not going there with y'all. No, I'm not about to. No, cereal ain't no dang soup. Cereal is cereal.
Soup's got to be hot for me. All right.
Yeah, I'm not.
Is
I'm
a
not
hot
gonna do
dog
that.
a sandwich?
No, I'm not doing that one either. It's not. I can't say that. It's just something in me won't let that. No, I can't
So
agree
here's the
with that.
thing. You know when the bun becomes like undone, right? You got like two pieces. Then it's a sandwich.
Okay, fair enough. When you put it that way, you got it. That is a sandwich
You know
because
the
that has
ketchup
happened to me.
drips down and gets soggy.
Yeah, and
It's a
if you
sandwich
use
at
the
that
cheap
point.
dollar store buns, it's a wrap. If you use the cheap buns.
It's a wrap. All right. What was your dream job growing up?
I wanted to be a judge when I was a kid. I wanted to rule in a courthouse, and I am so far from what like bruh, I couldn't imagine holding a gavel right now. I don't want to be a judge at all. What kind of kid? What was I thinking? I don't want to do that. But that was my dream job.
What is your guilty pleasure?
Man, brownies, fudge, chocolate, like chocolate on chocolate. Like I don't like milk chocolate. I like fudge, like deep, like
Yeah,
brownies. It's
some
just
deep.
my thing, man. Yeah, like it's hard to put it. Like I like double chocolate. That's me. That's what I mean by deep. Like not one layer. It's got to go deeper. Like I like double chocolate stuff.
But it ain't that deep.
It ain't that deep though.
Who is your biggest supporter? And shout them out.
My biggest supporter, other than my mom, obviously, because she will always be our number one cheerleader. Love my mom. Shout out my mom. But man, it's tough to shout out one person. It truly is. Um, Me making these videos, I get so much support from you people, the people, the folks that watch. The slightest thing could really go a long way when you guys encourage me. So Logan, you've actually been one of them, and I've taken what you said straight to my head because I tend to do that when people compliment me. So everybody who watches, man, everybody who supports, means a lot.
That's good. All right, and that is a wrap for the segment portion. And I'll just conclude things a little bit. So, how can they follow you on social media or reach you?
You can, man, as cool as it would be to say, yeah, just Google no lab coat required. I could be, nah, don't do that. I won't come up. You'll have to specifically pull up the Instagram or YouTube and type in no lab coat required. At one point, I'll be Googleable, but not yet. But no lab coat required everywhere.
All right. And if you've made it this far, please leave a review if listening on a podcasting platform and follow along for more running related content released every Sunday at noon. Check out any past episodes. Just had Robert Perry on last week and Malia and Chrissy the week before, some of my other WIU teammates. Do you have anything else? Anything you wish I asked you? Are you good?
Dude, you hit it all on the head, man. I just wanted to tell. I knew going into this, I did want to tell my origin story, but you asked such good questions that man, that was amazing. I appreciate you having me, brother. This was fun.
Thanks for coming on, and please check out No Lab Coat Required because I've enjoyed his content. He's got some great stuff, well researched, and also funny, entertaining. You can get something out of it and learn something at the same time.